Tonight I want to show you two videos that show the fate of critics in China. Two people who took on the state and faced the consequences. One plunged to his death, the second faced online horror. The pictures on your left are from the 7th of July. A driver deliberately crashed a school bus. 21 people died. Why did the driver do this? It was an act of desperation because the government demolished his rented home. He had nowhere to go. His home was gone without a warning. He appealed for help. He called a government hotline to complain, but no one listened to him. Defeated, he gave up and deliberately plunged to death, taking many others along with him. Now look at the second case. On your right is a grab from a video. It's a Chinese policeman threatening a dissident abroad through a video call from her parents' home. You heard that right. The state will go to any extent in China, it seems. And that is a cover story tonight, how China is trying to suppress the voices of criticism both at home and abroad. Beijing is leaving no stone unturned to crush dissent. But with so many voices now speaking out against the Communist Party, it is getting harder for Xi Jinping to hide them all. Let me tell you the story of Dong WION, a Chinese activist who lives in Melbourne, in Australia. Dong claims she was being hunted by China. Her Twitter account has become a headache for Beijing because she was criticizing and mocking Xi Jinping. And that was enough to put her in trouble. The case of Dong WION shows the extent to which China will go to silence critics. You have to see it to believe it. Dong uses a pseudonym to tweet. She hasn't revealed her real identity, but the Chinese authorities identified her. Then they managed to track her parents down. The police found her house. What followed is unbelievable. The police made a video call to Dong. The policeman threatened her while sitting right next to her parents. The idea was to show her that the Chinese state has reached her parents, and if the criticism continues, the parents will suffer. This is just a glimpse of China's censorship drives, dissidents being hunted, threatened over video calls. Dong WION recorded this video call. The clip was aired on an Australian news network. We've reproduced the conversation for you. Here is how Dong claims she was threatened.
I'm telling you, I've been looking for your father. You can record this call, but let me make it clear to you. What you are putting out on Twitter is absolutely not permitted. When you return to China, you come to the police station.
I told you it's unbelievable. Which government goes to such lengths to silence critics? A government that is insecure, a government whose legitimacy is in question. The Communist Party of China is paranoid about internal stability. A protest means a challenge to their grip on power. They don't understand free speech or disagreement. Does that mean that there are no protests in China? The answer is no. There are protests, a growing number of protests in fact. But the press does not report them. The fact is that social unrest is growing in China, and we have numbers to prove this. China's Ministry of Public Security used to release data on what they called mass incidents, meaning any protest or unrest involving more than 100 people. That data was last released in the year 2010. In that year, there were about 180,000 such events, 180,000 mass protests. And this is China's own data. But now Beijing has stopped releasing such data because social unrest means instability, a challenge to Xi Jinping's rule. How can China admit that such a thing even exists? So the figures have stopped, but the protests have not stopped. Several researchers have managed to document the growing unrest in China. According to one report, there were 30,000 events of social unrest in the year 2015. Another group of researchers identified some 136,000 protests. From 2010 to 2017, they used deep learning algorithms and analyzed posts on Weibo to find these figures. China Labour Bulletin is a Hong Kong-based NGO that tracks strikes by workers in China. They found 340 incidents of protests in the last 6 months. 340. The most recent one was detected today, 15th of July. Workers in Hebei threatened to jump off a building. Why? Because they were not getting their wages. They wanted their money. China Labour Bulletin says worker protests are on the rise across the country. June was the worst month of the year. As many as 89 strikes were recorded last month. That's more than 2 a day. And most of these are over the wages that have been held back. This is what China is trying to hide. The Communist Party is anxious about social unrest. It downplays the protests. It goes after critics just to hide its own failings.